Our next exercise, grab something that can be a barrier. I happen to have this box fan in my room, so that's what I'm going to use. And we're going to have our dog start to seek out the bowl or whatever you're using. I do suggest at this point to not just use a single tin. A lot of dogs like to retrieve the object, and we actually don't want them to do that. We want them to simply put their nose on it and leave it alone. If your dog is intent on picking up or batting the object around with their paws, I suggest you find something that's kind of heavy. Something they use in professional detection a lot is actually cinder blocks. So something like that could work really well if your dog is really insistent upon, batting the tin around. We want to try and discourage that behavior at this point. For Merlin, because he's pretty small and because he's done this a while, just a simple Tupperware tin will do. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our barrier, and we are going to start with our bowl just kind of next to the barrier. We're not hiding it yet. We're just going to make it so that when Merlin comes in from that door, he's still going to be able to see the bowl almost right away, but there's something else in the environment. Okay, Merlin. Yeah, good boy. So he saw it immediately and went right to it. That is our goal. When we first set up this deal with something in the way, we want to try and make sure that our dog can see it immediately. Okay. So now I'm going to put it so it's a little bit more difficult for him to see when he comes in through that door. So I'm just going to put it a little bit behind the fan. Now he still can probably see it pretty easily, but it's just a little bit harder. Okay, Merlin. Yes, good boy. Once again, when you're starting, as soon as they get to the bowl or the tin, you want to start rewarding. As they get more experienced, we're going to ask for a little bit longer and longer of a nose touch before we start rewarding. But because this is your very first time, reward immediately. A really good habit to get into that I don't always do with Merlin is when you're done, okay, you can pick up the bowl or the tin when you say okay, so that they know that they can leave the odor. So we are just gradually working our way so that the bowl is more and more hidden from him when he first comes in. Now, right now, he is just going to basically be using his eyes to see it. But eventually, the dog will start to learn that the odor is the thing that pays. Because this is your first week, I don't expect any dogs to actually understand the odor is the thing that we're looking for. These are the foundation steps so that we can get better. Okay. Yes, good boy. So you can see there, he had to look a little bit harder. One of the reasons I like the colander is because the treats don't get stuck between the tin and the bowl like they just did there. Okay. If during this exercise your dog just gets completely distracted or doesn't understand what's going on, go back a few steps. If you need to remove the object from the area entirely and just go back to a single bowl in the middle of the room, that's totally fine. Remember, we always want our dogs to be succeeding. That way they can learn. If they keep failing, they're just going to get frustrated and not know what to do. So if your dog is like, I don't know what's going on, stop. Try and make it easier. If you need to go back to presenting the tin in your hand, that's exactly what you should do. So now, with this object in here, I'm going to make it a bit more difficult. So I'm going to move the object a little bit, so it's more difficult for him to really see it. Now the fan happens to be open. Air can pass through it. So my guess is the odor is probably passing through it, and Merlin's going to be able to find it quite quickly. Okay, Merlin. Yes. Good boy. Remember, goal of it is that the dog does not leave their head out of the bucket. Okay, good boy. So those are the main exercises that you can try to play around with this week. We'll continue more in class on next Tuesday, but I wanted to give you just kind of an update with what to do. Thanks so much for being understanding with me. I will make sure in the future to be much more judicious about going inside when it's warm, and hopefully everything will be fine.